All right, everybody, we are back again for another episode of the Coach's Compass. Now, remember, I don't know what episode it is. I just continue to record. I continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world and continue to talk about some cool things, right? Now, remember, hit that like, subscribe, comment button down below so you can continue to have this thing grow, continue to bring on cool guests from all across the world. Now, I've got Coach Hannah with me here today. She is a Virginia Tech strength and conditioning coach. She is also an Aussie and former track alum of South Dakota State University and also a strength and conditioning coach over there. Coach Hannah, welcome and thank you for being here with the Coach's Compass.
Thank you for having me.
Coach, going from running track to now coaching strength and conditioning, what was that transition like and how hard was it to coaching athletes that you also were running with like a year before that?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I can admit that I wasn't the best strength and conditioning athlete in the weight room. I didn't really buy in till really late in my career, but I knew that it got me better and I knew that's kind of what I wanted to do. So transitioning to being a coach with people that I ran with was very interesting. The culture there was so amazing and the kids are all like so nice, so welcoming, so kind, that I never really had a problem. Like it was seamless. I got really lucky with the kids that I had and it was very interesting coaching people that I was like friends and teammates with. But they were really good sports about it.
How was it though to, kind of go from only just coaching or running track and then kind of knowing the nuances of how to coach strength and conditioning for track to now working with multiple other sports? Like, how was that transition for you? And how was it interacting with those athletes too, to get them to kind of buy in and understand that you know the science and the terminologies behind what they need to do to configure their programs and whatnot?
I feel like, especially when I was an athlete, they could see that I worked hard and that I bought in and everything. So then for me to be a coach, that helped a lot, I think, with their buy-in because they saw that like it worked for me. So they just kind of trusted the process, which was really nice. But I was kind of in a unique situation because I had all the distance kids, not just like I didn't have the track kids, the sprinters. So it was like optional for them to lift, I guess. And all of the females, it like became mandatory very recently. But then the males could choose whether or not they wanted to lift or not. So slowly, like throughout the 2 years, like I had a different guy each week come up to me and be like, hey, can I start lifting? And then the next week it would be like a new kid. Hey, can I start lifting? Can I join you guys in the weight room? And slowly, by the end of my GA, every single boy on the team lifted. So I feel like that was a win within itself.
Look at you go, coach. Got people lifting. That's a huge accomplishment because nowadays with the options of being able to not lift or lift, like you kind of know that it's needed, right? Like even if they're not going in there trying to max out all the time, right? Which is needed for every lift that you do. At least they're coming in and doing something, right, to help them get better at their sport. But now you also transition, right? You go from South Dakota State to now Virginia Tech. What's that been like going from kind of a big school to even bigger school?
Yeah, I guess I'm feeling very grateful and lucky for this opportunity. I'll only be here for a year as a fellow, so I'm just going to be a sponge and trying to soak up everything that I can, learn as much as I can at this high level, just so I can be a better coach.
ACC though, that's a big time move, right? Like there's a lot of stuff going on there. There's a lot. I would say there's probably the same amount of sports, but a lot more athletes, a lot more money, bigger facilities, all that other stuff. What are you most excited about to learn and be a part of?
I think just because it is a bigger school, obviously the teams are bigger, there is more money. So like seeing the differences within that, like what a school can do for the athletes with that difference in like funding and stuff, especially with like at SDSU, we didn't really have like a sports psychologist, a nutritionist. So seeing more members of that performance team working together is really cool to see how that helps the athletes.
But you come all the way from Australia to here in America, good old America. What brought you here besides track? Like what made you really say like, hey, like I want to take like myself over to America and kind of continue to stay here? Like why not after you're done with school, kind of go back to Australia, take what you've learned here and go back there with it? Like why not that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I guess in Australia, there's not really an opportunity to keep running while you get your education. You either like go pro and try balance like a pro career with being in university, or you go to the US and try and get recruited for track. So that was kind of like my option to get there. And then once I stayed there, I knew I wanted to do exercise science. I knew that that's where my passion lied pretty much, but it was just Yeah, like year after year doing my exercise science program and like learning things. I didn't know actually what like specialization or career I wanted to go into. And that's when I like kind of fell in love with strength and conditioning and realized that that's what I wanted to do. And yeah, again, over here, this career is a lot more prevalent than in Australia. There's not as many jobs in that career. So if I wanted to continue to pursue this, I kind of had to stay here. And yeah, that's kind of what kept me.
I mean, you say it yourself, like over here we have more strength and conditioning avenues and fields to kind of go in. Did you have that type of training when you were training in high at the high school level in Australia? And what are you seeing the difference in some of the high school athletes that you're getting in now compared to when you came in to college?
That's a good question. So yeah, I'd never lifted in my entire life before I came here.
No weights.
Never been in the weight room, never done anything. Yeah. So my first day in the weight room freshman year was the first time I'd lifted. I'd like been to the gym and like done ab workouts and stuff, but nothing like crazy. So yeah, I know there is opportunities to do that there, but it's usually when you're really good at your sport and you're at a really high level, even in high school. If you're recruited by like the AIS, the Australian Institute of Sport, or like each state has their own like institute. Those kids that are really talented, they kind of go there and they get that special treatment, I guess. But just like at the high school level, not really. So yeah, this was my first introduction to that world.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. Well, actually, it's not that interesting because I lived in Europe for 8 years, right? And it's not really prevalent in there because like you guys have to go to a local gym to kind of get your lifting in. There's not really a gym at the school that you can use with the weight racks and all that stuff. There's not a strength conditioning coach on staff. Whereas even sometimes here in high schools in the States, usually it's the football coach or something like that that's doing the strength conditioning, so it's not the best. But there's still somebody in there doing it, right? So I understand where you're coming from. If knowing that though, what do you think? Would you think it would help that if you guys had strength and conditioning coaches in high school for male, female athletes to help bring sports up a lot better and also get it closer to the what it's like here in America? Because I would say that there are great athletes in Australia, but wouldn't you say that there are a lot better or more athletes here in America because of the access and the resources?
Yeah, I believe so. I think, high school kids in America get a lot more resources just purely because it's a country with a much larger population. So there's just more access, I guess. Obviously, like in Australia, they are really great athletes once they get to that level and very competitive worldwide for the size of the country it is. Like you saw it at the Olympics and all of that, like the medal tally to population ratio, like they did amazing. But obviously, yeah, I feel like there could be more depth if there was more access in high schools and stuff like that. So that could be something that maybe I go back there and start that. Who knows?
Look at that. I'm starting a whole new brand for you. Coach Hannah's coaching, taking it back to Australia. But what's something that you kind of wish you would have known before you got into coaching that you know now? You know, because you're still young in the career. Right? You're just now kind of getting your feet wet and the whole thing, but there's still some things that I'm sure you wish you would have known before you started, right?
Sure. I think there's a lot of things. That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I think firstly is like you have to seek out information and you have to seek out like networking opportunities. You have to really put yourself out there. It's not just something that's gonna come to you. There's a lot of stuff you have to do like with your own time to research, to read, to really invest within yourself and your own education. I think that's really important. And then also just like personally for me, I'm quite a people pleaser. So just knowing that not every athlete will like you, not every coach will like you. A lot of athletes don't like the weight room. So you just have to, know what works for them, what makes them like it maybe a little bit more. And it's okay if they don't like it. It's going to help them and it's going to make them better. So that's kind of the lane you have to send them in when it comes to explaining why they're doing these things.
So who are some of the coaches or the books that you're reading to kind of continue to learn and broaden your education and continue to fine tune yourself as a coach?
Right now, I'm not reading any books. I left everything in South Dakota in boxes and stuff. I am about to start like an education curriculum, I guess, with my fellowship at Virginia Tech. So I'm hoping to learn a lot there, and they're very open with like me being able to choose what I would like to learn, whether it be like getting a book and reading that. But mostly like I know this sounds silly, but Instagram. I follow a lot of coaches on Instagram and I'm learning like through seeing what they do in videos. I know there's a lot of like clowns out there that post some not great stuff. And you kind of have to like go through the weeds about that, but there's a lot of really like well-established coaches that I follow, and also just my mentors, like calling them and getting advice and stuff too.
Yeah. How do you handle though the pressure of, pouring so much into your athletes and being a people pleaser and being able to balance out your personal life, mental health, and not burning out and not wanting to not be a coach anymore? Like, what is it like to figure out that work-life balance and how to say no to people?
Mhm. I think that's a big thing that I do need to work on, especially just because I've been a GA and now I'm a fellow. I feel like I'm in those years where maybe I will just say yes to everything and kind of let myself get burnt out because I need to give myself as much learning opportunity as I can and, throw myself into the fire. But yeah, at SDSU, just creating boundaries was kind of what I was learning throughout the process. I was saying yes to a lot. So like, especially if an athlete missed lift and they just wanted to come make it up whenever, like I would have to give them a certain time so that I could have time for myself versus just always being available, just so I don't feel burnt out. But no, I'm definitely still working on that.
Well, why do you feel like you still need to say yes to everything? I know you say it's because you're young in the career, but don't you think that, a lot of the older coaches have put in those times and the hours and everything like that, so we don't have to as much now and can figure out like how to have a good life balance? Just because I think it's there's a reason why a lot of coaches have burnt out and a lot of coaches have fallen out of the game, is because we've put in so many hours and kind of also sold ourselves short for how valuable we actually are, right? Like the knowledge and the power that we have and how close we get with the athletes and what we're able to do with them is so, so powerful that also we have to figure out a time for ourselves because nobody else is going to be there for us. So I think it's okay. I'll be the one that I'm on the outside. I'm in the private sector, right? So I can't speak for all college coaching, professional coaching, everything, but I think it's okay sometimes to say no and give yourself some space, right? Because you're young in the game, but then you'll get later on and you'll get to the years that it's like, oh man, I keep saying yes and yes and yes. Don't feel like you have to say yes to everything now. I think you're going to keep doing great things and you're going to keep doing amazing things. But on top of that, how are you going to measure your success in this coaching field? Beyond wins, PRs, scholarships, like what are you going to say considers Coach Hannah successful?
That's a good question. I think I would like to be like, you see those coaches that are a little older and they're at a big school and they've been at that big school for a long time, which is kind of rare because I feel like the turnover at big schools is, very quick. So I would like to be at a high level school in a position for an extended period of time. I don't really just want to like keep jumping around like school to school. I would feel successful if I got to, be established with a program for a long time and, keep seeing them every year, especially like, I know people always say like the 4 year, like having a freshman class and being able to see them graduate. I feel like that would be pretty rewarding.
Now, I know it's been a short time in the coaching career so far. What's the one moment in this small period that you kind of realize like, this is why I got into coaching and this is why I won't stop?
That's a really good question. I think I had the long distance team at South Dakota State and we had a home conference meet and I got to see them cross the line, which was the event where like it signaled they had won the meet, and the whole men's team was like running into the middle of the track and all our staff was standing there just like sobbing. Just like moments like that, seeing the kids' hard work pay off, I think that's the most rewarding by far.
That's got to be amazing just to see everything that you put into them. I mean, obviously you can take some credit for like being there with them and being there through it all with them. But yeah, that's got to be an amazing feeling just to see them win it all. And this next question comes from one of our former guests and one of our coaches that came on before. Would you want to be coached by you?
Ooh, I think so. Yeah, I think so. I think as an athlete, I always wanted my coach to think that I was working hard and doing a good job. And I feel like as a coach, I'm someone who recognizes the athletes that work hard and do a good job and do everything right. So I feel like, yeah, I would have liked to be as a coach.
There it is. Yeah, I would love to be coached by you too, Coach Hannah. Now, before we get out of here, what's one thing you would want us to ask our next guest?
Ooh, I want to like spice it up. Like what is their favorite strength and conditioning hot take? Like a controversial opinion.
And what's yours?
See, I don't know if I really have a lot, but maybe I feel like a lot of, especially like gym bro type guys, are very big on like the supplements and everything. And I feel like I'm obviously not a dietitian, so I can't say this with like 100%, but I think supplements just are not essential. Like if you have a good diet, you're getting everything you need. Like obviously protein powder and like creatine is good for muscle growth, but when it comes to like a lot of the supplement industry, I feel like we just need to eat well and sleep.
Welcome to America. We like to give you a lot of stuff that's really not needed. That's a little disclaimer right there. But Coach Hannah, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for keeping it real. And I can't wait to continue to follow you along this journey because I know we're only a short period in. And I can't wait to see where we are 5-10 years down the line and where all this coaching takes you.
I'm excited too. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And we're out.